Paranormal Adventures proudly presents the Supernatural Roundtable, a journey into the shadows of the unknown, where myths and legends blur with reality. Join your hosts, Sean, Craig, and Richard, as they explore the unexplained, diving deep into the chilling mysteries of the supernatural. From the towering figure of Bigfoot lurking in the forests, to the eerie whispers of dogmen and the elusive presence of Mothman, we seek the truth behind the world's most elusive cryptids. Ghostly apparitions, otherworldly encounters, and the unseen forces that linger in the darkness await. Together, we'll explore UFOs, government cover-ups, and the forgotten history buried beneath decades of secrecy. What are the origins of these mysteries? What are the consequences of their existence? And more importantly, what do they mean for us? Prepare yourself to venture beyond the veil of reality. Turn down the lights, listen closely, and step into the unknown, because the supernatural world is closer than you think. This is the Supernatural Roundtable.
On this episode, we are going to be talking about the Betty and Barney Hill abduction, which I believe is probably one of the first alien abductions that's been recorded.
Yeah,
But
that sounds like fun.
And those of you who aren't watching on YouTube, and it's just you heard the voice of our very first guest, which is my wonderful wife, Krystal, and co-host of the Paranormal Adventures. So
yeah, it was a little bit too foggy and bad weather for me to try to make it to church and drive tonight. I don't see that great at night anyway. I have to wear my glasses, so fog and rain and weather make it even harder to see. So, but
yeah, I understand that.
Talking about what I like. I like aliens, so I thought, well, I can sit in if you want. So,
always.
Tonight was also a good night. I made my homemade creamy vegetable chicken noodle soup. So.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, if anybody wants a recipe, y'all know where to email us at. So.
Yeah, considering I haven't eaten yet.
So, Betty and Barney Hill is actually pretty interesting. In my opinion, it is. I've always wanted to get into a good discussion about their abduction and about who they were and all that.
Well, they was very well respected. Barney, he was a postal worker, and Betty, she was a social worker, and they were members of the NAACP, community leaders.
Yeah.
Barney even sat on the board of United States Commission on Civil Rights.
I was just about to say, I think it's pretty cool because back when they were married and the time that they were in, they were one of the first interracial couples like that, and that's pretty cool. So
yeah, exactly.
In that time period, especially in American history, there's a lot of racial tension and everything, and for them to come out with the story that they came out with and drawing as much attention to themselves as they did, I'm leaning more towards their story being true because people in their position, being an interracial couple, they wouldn't draw that much attention to themselves unless it was something that actually happened.
That's very true. And our universe is so big. How can we be the only ones out here? And as I'm going to read a quote from Arthur C. Clarke. He's a well-known author, and it says, 2 possibilities exist. Either we are alone in the universe or we are not. Both are equally terrifying.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a vast universe. So I believe in all that and all the different things that could be out there. So
I'm not going to say that there are aliens, but we'd be kind of selfish thinking that, you know, with such a large universe that we're alone.
yeah,
You know,
Right, exactly.
what you know, y'all know we go to church and stuff like that, believe in God and everything. And why would He create such a massive universe to have just one little speck?
exactly. Yeah.
There's so many theories to that. I've seen so many documentaries and different theories on everything. It's amazing, what's out there, and what people believe in.
Yeah.
And really, Sean and I have had this discussion before. Is it not really factual to say that God Himself is an alien? He's not of this world. He's above all that. So
You know, and to think of it that way, you know, he sent Christ to this earth. Well, he was an alien hybrid because he was of God.
uh, sorry.
The
We have
dog's
another-
getting on there.
We have another guest appearance on the
That's
show.
Neely, guys. She's a German chocolate lab, is what we call her.
But you know, I don't want to sound like I'm being, you know, I don't want to sound like I'm being, I don't know the word for it, but towards God and all that. But if you think about God being an alien, Jesus was an alien hybrid. You know, because God came or put Christ in the into
And
Mary.
yeah.
So
I never thought of it like that, but
you know.
yeah.
Anyway, I'm not trying to sound.
Well, that's kind of a whole nother story, Sean.
But we're here to talk about
Yeah.
Betty and Barney.
Yeah.
Not trying to sound
Right.
heretical.
Yeah.
And,
Heretic.
and their siding, I mean, it's if you read the whole thing, and there was stuff even I didn't know until I actually read about it. Of course they seen the UFO first, which was at 10:30 p.m. on September 19th, 1961, and they was driving back from a vacation.
Yeah, was that Niagara Falls, I think, up there?
Yeah, Niagara Falls and Montreal.
Yeah.
But they was south of Lancaster, New Hampshire, when Betty observed a bright spot in the sky, and and she was trying to get Barney to stop and.
I don't think he really wanted to.
Well, I mean,
She's
he
probably
did
like me,
stop.
really into stars and the moon and stuff like that.
Right. And he did stop. They stopped at a picnic area, and they viewed it, and then it started acting erratically, and from my understanding, it actually started coming toward them. So they started driving, and then they ended up having to stop in the middle of the road of the highway, and Barney got out, and he actually had a pistol with him, and he had some binoculars, and he observed these figures in the windows of this spacecraft. He said it was huge, saucer shaped, and he observed 8 to 11 humanoid figures in the windows. And according to him, all but one moved, and the remaining figure told Barney to stay where you are and keep looking. And of course, he was afraid by then, and ran and got back in the car, and they tried to speed away, but then they heard this strange beeping sound. They fell asleep, fell into a daze, and then when they awoke, they was on the outside of Concord and didn't know how they got there.
Yeah.
So I mean
Man,
that's something.
I know. It really scared Barney more than it did Betty, I believe. I mean, uh, they even went into, and I don't know how many people believe in the ability for hypnosis and stuff
I
like
do.
that, but Barney, from what I remember, freaked out. I mean, it scared him so bad that it freaked him out, even during hypnosis. Remembering,
Yeah, that whole of course anybody can go on. You can go online. You can listen to their audio, and boy, that is really something to listen to. Uh, you know, it just it's a really good thing to listen to if you're into this kind of stuff because
Well,
they really
definitely.
go into detail.
Didn't they or haven't they since examined her dress too, and they found like some interesting evidence about that dress she had on when they were abducted?
Yeah, it was something like that. They got her dress later, and of course, it was torn and ripped, and um, had a pink powder on it.
Huh. Like a radiation maybe or something, or radiated?
I don't know. It didn't really go into the whole story about that.
she's chomping on something.
But yeah, I mean, their watches never worked again. The strap on his binoculars was torn, and he didn't know
Uh,
how that was torn.
Try to hold this up to the camera, but if y'all can see, that's Betty's dress.
Yeah, it showed up.
So,
Cool.
but
Probably
that
hear
that
sirens
was,
in the background on my end. We live
huh?
close to the hospital. They're coming to
Mm.
take me. They knew we were doing aliens.
He's
Now,
okay.
Richard, I think he has information about Betty and how she described this star system
Yeah.
that was pretty amazing.
Um,
Sorry.
Betty's experience is a little bit different from Barney. It seems like she was not as terrified by the events as Barney was. They seem to have treated him much more, I guess you could say, brutally than they did Betty. And in fact, they
Uh,
showed her a star system. Go ahead.
I'm wondering if they treated him rougher because he was a male.
Might be,
And but
but Craig mentioned something about him having a gun too, so possibly thinking
yeah,
him being
but
hostile.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
this star system, I'm going to see if I can pull it up real quick. Should be on my screen now. Should be recording it, I hope. This is the Zeta Reticuli, if I can pronounce the daggum thing correctly. Reticuli star system, which was,
Reticuli?
yeah,
uh,
thank you. I can't pronounce that.
yeah.
Which was discovered in the 1700s, right? And Betty drew this map. She had no idea about this star system, no idea where it's from. It is only visible in the southern hemisphere, and it was discovered in the 1700s. So unless she had intimate knowledge of, astronomy, which I've not come across any background of her knowing anything about astronomy, she
No.
drew an accurate map that was later identified by an amateur astronomer as this system. It's a binary star system. I'm going to pull it up one more time. And her drawing, which is at the bottom, I wish I could show y'all, is almost
Yeah,
exactly like the top one, which is the real life one. So, which is really fascinating. I don't know why they would show her a star system, but this star system has never appeared in alien lore or the Greys or anything like that at this point in time. The Greys have never been mentioned in UFO lore in 1961. No one's ever talked about it. This star system, nothing like that. And for her to draw a fairly accurate map of a binary star system that's 33 something light years from Earth that you can't even see in the northern hemisphere, that's pretty astounding.
No doubt.
That is pretty astonishing, really. You know, like you said, she would have no knowledge of that, so they had to have shown her something.
It was one of those star systems that was not well known at the time. We got star systems like there's several that are well known, that have been known for a long time, that people can point out in the sky. This is not one of them. This is one that you can only see in the southern hemisphere on a given time. You would not be able to see it in New Hampshire or wherever they were at the time.
Yeah.
Right.
For her to draw it and draw the binary suns, because she drew the binary suns in this system, that's pretty convincing.
I have kind of a question too, and I don't know if you looked at any of that during your research, but do you think it could have been Nordics that were aboard too that showed her that? Because Travis Walton had a similar experience where he was shown some star system stuff, but he said they looked more like the Nordics, but there were Greys too that were in his abduction. So I just wondered.
Now Travis was the logger, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was the logger.
Yeah.
In all my research, all I see is the Greys. I have no mention of Nordics or nothing like that. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, y'all actually know more about it than I do.
I know a little bit about his abduction, you know, and I think he went missing 2 or 3 days. But
he was gone for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, he was gone a lot longer than what the Hills were, and that's about all I know about that one.
Fire in the Sky is a pretty good movie. It kind of talks about that.
The thing about Travis, though, when they returned him, he was butt naked.
Yeah, that is true.
They returned him without any clothes on.
And pretty much in the middle of nowhere, there's a payphone.
That was kind of odd, you know. So
it's like insult to injury right there.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Oh, I froze up for a second. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I froze up. I'm good.
Sorry, I'm moving about so much. The pup's trying to get into stuff over here, so I'm trying to corral her.
Come on, Sean. This is a podcast. You're supposed to be ready for. No, okay, I'm joking.
Well, people are watching this too.
Like, God, he is so unprofessional. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. And one thing I'm going to go into is, of course, you mentioned that they're well respected. She was actually a college graduate. He was in World War II. I mean, he didn't see any frontline combat, but he's still a World War II veteran, served at a transportation company.
He did what your client does, was in the transportation.
Oh, okay, cool, yeah. Motor pool, maybe. I know, Mr. Halls was in motor pool in Vietnam, yeah.
So.
And after these events, she became much more interested in the UFO subject. He was not. He wanted nothing to do with it, and his health after this would sharply decline. He would suffer from stomach ulcers, severe anxiety, depression. He eventually died about 8 years later of cerebral hemorrhaging.
So, if I recall, didn't he, when they put him under hypnosis, didn't he start screaming?
Yeah.
Oh, man, yeah.
With that said, you know, people talk about different kinds of probing, and one is through the nostrils.
Oh, I've heard of that.
checking. They're like, "What's up here?" Trying to get to the brain and stuff like that. So that would make sense that he would have that happen, especially if they were, doing experiments on me.
Yeah.
Um,
And the eyes too, like yeah.
yeah, they also took some other samples from a more graphic region I'm not going to state, but yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Yeah, so his
I,
experience was a lot more traumatic, and
I think I'd be screaming too, remembering that.
yeah, so
No doubt.
his health did decline. He really didn't want to talk about this subject. She, on the other hand, was all about it until her death in 2004. So you've
Right.
got two
Yeah.
different ends of the spectrum.
She got really into it and was trying to, I guess more or less, join the fight and proving that they're real.
Yeah.
I can see her getting upset at him for not being more interested in it too, though.
Sounds like she just
Right.
had natural curiosity. She was more like, what happened to us? I want to know why, kind of deal.
Yeah, but given how the experiments were apparently run on him, I can understand his
Oh,
reticence.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't want to. I
Definitely.
wouldn't want anything to do with that after that.
No.
You know.
Yeah. A lot of those abductions, a lot of them that go through all those experiences and probings and all kinds of stuff, they just scream and have nightmares from that. You can see like a lot of documentaries of people that have had that happen to them. I can understand that too.
Yeah, I will say that he, till the day he died, he didn't refute the story. He didn't like to talk about it, and her story
Sorry, guys.
never changed till her death in 2004. So she was a major UFO advocate from this point on until 2004, and her story didn't change. So it's I mean, your story doesn't change, and you have all this stuff happen. Usually stories
Yeah.
vary over time. They get a little bit more embellished as you go, but her story just did not. It stayed the same the whole time. So that's a pretty good indication that she at least believed what happened to her. You know what I'm saying? And so did he.
Right.
And for two major respected people, to come out and say, hey, we were abducted by aliens, and to describe
Yeah.
what we call as the Greys nowadays is, yeah.
Yeah, and if you dive deeper into it, of course, I've seen so many documentaries and read so much about it, but there's apparently different species of aliens out there. There's the grays, there's the whites. Uh, I can't exactly remember them all, but apparently the
Krystal mentioned one
grays
earlier.
are bad ones. You don't want to get caught by the grays.
We
They're
we
they're
actually did
apparently
a
bad.
we did talk. One of our earlier episodes was about the tall whites.
Yeah.
So it that I
There's an
mean,
interesting documentary on that with the tall whites and the guy that wrote the book and everything. So it's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of a crazy story altogether, and the fact that I've heard this story before of missing time because they are missing 2 hours into their story. Before the hypnosis, I've heard multiple accounts. I've even heard it in Bigfoot stuff too, but people. One moment they're there, and then a couple hours later they're somewhere else, and they have no idea where this time is gone.
yeah.
Sorry.
Well, yeah. I've had experience with missing time once, but it was after I gave blood, and I ended up driving right afterwards, and don't remember the drive home. Yeah, from that time on, I never gave blood again.
Okay, great.
Oh
But
boy.
you get plasma.
Well, that's different. You get your blood back.
Yeah. Now, have y'all ever actually seen like UFO stuff?
Uh,
Yes.
I have to.
I haven't like seen anything, but there's something I can't explain, and he knows. I've showed you that. I don't know what that is. We'll see it sometimes out there, and you said it's not a tower light.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
It's like it's hovering there in one
There's
spot.
a bright light uh, out in our. It'd be behind us back there. But it's up in the
Right
sky, and
over Tim's cow field back
I
there.
and I was coming down the road one day. I was like, well, I think it's a tower back there. But then I get to looking closer, and it's too high up to be a tower where it's located. And every so often, it'll just go out, then it'll come back on. And
Yeah,
it's not
it's
like
odd.
it's not like it's a steady pulse like your towers would have. It just it's an odd light in the sky that I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I've not got a clue.
The only time I've had anything to other than that I had wasn't sure what it was. I was taking my son back to his mom's one day, and I got to the top of this hill, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a light just drop. It's like a streak of light just go straight down. I don't know what it was.
Uh,
My sighting was out on the farm. Of course, I had my Bigfoot sightings there, but we had just moved out there to the farm, and we was living in a trailer house at the time. We moved a trailer house out there, and we was living in it. My grandma and grandpa was living in the house still, and our trailer was parked beside power lines. The big old power lines with the big old towers, and they ran right through our farm. Well, one night, we was all it was late. It had to have been, I don't know, midnight or early morning, but our whole trailer was shaking, and
mm,
you could see light. You could see light outside, and it looked like daylight. And so we all got up and we tried to hurry up and get outside. And by the time we got outside, we seen the very end of it going over the hill and following the power lines. And I mean, like I said, it was bright as daylight,
wow.
and it really freaked us out, but we wasn't the only ones that seen it. It just so happened our neighbors down the road and along that power line, they all seen it too. And we just can't explain it. And this thing, it was huge. I couldn't tell you how big it was, but it was low, and it was just following that power line. Kind of had a theory about that. We kind of think that they was following it, gathering power off of the power lines.
Yeah.
But it was a freaky experience.
That's
That would
ironic.
freak me out.
It's ironic that you mentioned the old farm. I was going to pick up an ex of mine that worked up on Mount Magazine, and it was late, and I just came to that overlook where you could actually see out towards the old farm. And I kind of slowed down. I was looking at this bright moonlit night, and I could see a bright light hovering over pretty close to where the old farm was. And I watched. I was kind of curious. Wasn't thinking nothing much till I saw it shoot straight up in the sky. I
Well,
mean, like
see,
a rocket. It was just gone. I'm like, holy crap.
your mom and your granny had an experience where they seen three. The little ridge as you're going toward the pecan trees. That first ridge. Well, they actually seen three, and it was like they was doing maneuvers above that ridge. They'd move real fast and they'd go round and round in circles with one another, and then one would shoot off and one would shoot off a different direction. But that was something for them. They was kind of freaked out by that.
Wow.
I'm going to throw this out there. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I'm enjoying seeing Craig doing all his hand motions and all that stuff.
I kind of talk with my hands. I'm
He's
sorry.
very expressive like this.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, I mean, I was just doing this number, so yeah.
Yeah.
Runs in the family, I guess you could say.
I don't know. I get when I'm talking about something, I kind of get a little excitement going, and it causes me to use my hands, to express myself.
Yeah. I'll do that while I'm driving and stuff. I'll be pointing at stuff, talking about this and
Yeah.
that. And
Your dad did that, Bill, when I'd ride with him. It's where you get it from.
But yeah, the whole subject is just weird. I mean, I've not really touched the alien subject very much. I've always been more of the Bigfoot guy. I mean, hell, it's on my hat. It's like hide and seek champion. But it's interesting, and I do want to definitely delve more into the UFO stuff.
yeah.
Well, right now, I don't know if you know it, but occasionally on the different news channels. But anyway, the government is starting to release some of their UFO
They
footage.
are.
That,
Watch NASA. Alien Files Uncovered. There's a bunch of those that are out now. A lot of the documentary stuff, different
Yeah,
streaming apps.
there was one. Matter of fact, it was pretty recent. It just happened. I'm not sure how far back, but it was the most recent one, and it showed our jet fighters trying to catch this thing, and it just outmaneuvered them, outflew them, and it was moving at incredible speeds, and our jets. Well, Richard, he used to know about jets. How fast is some of our fastest jets?
Which one are you talking about? If you're talking about the F-15, the thing is pretty much a daggum rocket. I mean,
You know,
the F-15, which we're still using, you can literally chop a wing off and the thing will still fly. It's a rocket. It is the fastest jet still in service right now, even though it's over 50 years old. The F-22
Well-
is also extremely fast. It's just more maneuverable.
right. Well, I mean, you're looking at pretty substantial speed there, but yet these UFOs can go faster than they can.
Yeah.
and even back during World War II, the Germans had what they called the Foo Fighters that they were chasing.
Oh, wow.
And that was basically their UFO experiences was with the Foo Fighters.
Do you want to know the top speed of an F-15?
Fast.
Yeah. 1,650 miles an hour.
Wow.
Golly.
So if it's out booking an F-15 or even an F-16, an F-22, that thing is hauling.
Well, here recently they had all three of our pilots that come before Congress, and they was given their spill on their sightings. One guy, he chased after that one that was called the Tic Tac.
Yeah. That was from the Nimitz, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
The tall whites were in ships like that.
Yeah.
But this thing, he said, could outmaneuver him, and I believe he said he was flying a F-14, and he said this thing could do a 90-degree turn like no other in
Now,
speed.
How long ago was this? When did he?
Oh, you can find it on YouTube.
Because if it's not that long ago, then he's probably flying an F-16 because
It might have
F-14's been
been.
out of service for a bit. But yeah, that's still you're still booking it. Let's just say that. And
Yeah.
have you heard of the underwater craft?
Yes, I've
Yeah.
heard about them.
Yeah.
There's places in the world.
Off of the Pacific, off California in the Pacific, there's supposed to be an alien hotspot in the ocean.
Not just there. Everyone hears about the Bermuda Triangle. There's
That
also one off the coast of Japan called the Dragon's Triangle.
Wow.
It's
that
really famous because one of our commodores, I believe it was William Hazard Perry, when we forced Japan to open up trade in the 1800s, seen underwater craft or he's seen lights come up like in front of his ship. This is in the early 1800s. So, and they
Wow.
go phew, up in the sky.
and even further back than that, Columbus claimed to have seen lights.
Yeah.
You
The
know,
That's
UFO
cool.
phenomenon, the grays, all that. I mean, it
uh,
really became mainstream a little bit more after Betty and Barney Hill's
Yeah.
stuff.
yeah,
We kind of got away
that
from that a little bit, but after their encounters, we started. I mean, now they have a term, the grays. That star system I can't pronounce, but Krystal can.
Or something reticuli.
Yeah, Zeta Reticuli. I cannot say that. I can say Japanese names, but I cannot say that stupid star system.
Well, it's amazing, because how far back do they go? Because they're on hieroglyphics on walls, you
Yeah.
know, and
that
and the
The
pyramids,
watchers.
Well, I mean, we
you
talked
know.
about the Bigfoot thing too, and they appeared on cave art.
yeah.
So I mean, how much of UFOs and all this unexplained is in our distant past that we just don't know, or that we've,
That's
like I mentioned in the last podcast,
the Anunnaki.
we've moved so far away from what we used to be because of, like Sean said last time, because of this, because of these,
Yeah.
you know.
You're right.
The distraction to distract us a lot, I think.
But as I
Pro,
said last time, also there's the flip side. We wouldn't be doing this
Yeah.
now if it wasn't for half
yeah.
these
Exactly.
examples.
And I can't remember where I read this, but there was a guy that had a theory. Now, bear with me on this, whether whether you believe it or not, But anyway, his theory was that he believes that humans were put here on this planet, and it's actually a prison planet. The aliens put us here because we're so destructive. Now think about that.
It's kind of like the English sending their prisoners to Australia.
Right, right.
Sorry if anyone in Australia sees this, but facts
Uh,
are facts at this
y'all
point.
started out as a bunch of convicts, so
So did, but to be fair, so did Georgia. I mean, and
yeah,
I've been there. Sorry,
yeah. We
Georgia.
don't claim
Your
Georgia.
dogs
Yeah.
is not very good. I don't like
I
it.
don't know about a lot of that, but I've read a lot on the Book of Enoch lately, and with the Watchers and all, and I'm kind of wondering if perhaps the Anunnaki have a link to the Watchers. If not, they are the Watchers that were sent down here.
I'm trying to get her to lean more this way, so she's not out of the screen.
Yeah, I mean, Krystal, I hate to say it, you're more photogenic than the rest of us here. Seriously, I mean, you see his ugly mug, and my ugly mug.
I mean, she did marry me, so you know.
Yeah, she took
But
pity on you there, Sean, didn't she?
And would y'all believe I'm 3 years older than he is?
Not gonna comment on that.
Thank you.
I don't ever comment on a woman's age. That's bad news.
I'll just throw this out here. You're not supposed to tell a woman's age, but I'm 43, so.
I just turned 46. I'm not afraid to say it. I'm 46.
Oh, you're asking what year that Nimitz sighting was, that was in 2004.
Oh,
2004. So that would have been, I want to say an F-16. I'm pretty sure F-15s, I don't believe are carrier based. F-14s should have been out of service at that point.
Well, see, they actually sent him after this thing, and he was told to, catch it, try to shoot it down, but
Yeah.
there was no chance.
I mean, with a carrier task group, and you have an unknown aerial whatever. That is a threat to that carrier task group. They're going to respond hostily. I mean, it's completely off topic, but there's been many accounts of U.S. carrier task groups taking down enemy planes, just because they got too close. You don't come close to that carrier task group.
And let's just face it, dude's not as good as Will Smith in Independence Day. He can't take one down.
Well,
dreadlocks hanging out my parachute.
Wait, that might have been an F-18 then. That might have been. I forgot all about F-18s. That might have been what that was then.
I can't remember. He does tell you as he's giving his story. I can't.
I might have got my planes mixed up. I believe that would have been an F-18, which is more
But
carrier based. It's bad that I know all this crap.
it's on YouTube and it's really good. He's actually before Congress, before they're set. Congress is asking him all these questions, and allowing him to actually release his information.
Yeah.
I do believe the government knows a lot because a lot of the stuff I've watched, there was the blue, what do they call it, Sean? The blue treaty or something where they signed that treaty with the aliens way back, and they've got them underground facilities out in the desert and the mountains.
They are called deep underground military bases, which the acronym is called DUMBS. Thank you.
Oh, there's a lot of it. I don't know. I believe a lot of it.
Well, I mean, you got to think about it. Area 51. That was one of the most talked about bases for the longest.
I don't with Area 51. I don't think they're doing as much there. I think they're using it again as more of a distraction.
A little funny tidbit, Sean. You mentioned Will Smith and Independence Day. Hear me out. Do you know the U.S. government approached the directors and producers of Independence Day? They're like, we're willing to work alongside you on this movie if you take out Area 51. They didn't put that in the movie.
For real?
Wow.
Wow.
That tells you something right there. What's with that,
That there was, if I remember right, Will Smith did an interview on one of these late night shows after that movie. He made the statement that I was told stuff that nobody else knows, or something to that effect.
Wow.
Yeah. The way their employees get to work, if they don't stay on site, they arrive in unmarked planes. They're not allowed to talk.
This is one topic, much like Ghost, I could talk forever
The
on.
Janet fights.
Yeah. It's what the government knows, and I think they know a lot. Just like the Bigfoot topic, I think they know a lot.
A lot of astronauts are coming out now. They're actually starting to come forward. The structures on the moon. Have y'all seen the stuff about that?
I've seen that.
It's interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot coming out.
Yeah, it's on the side that's never shown from Earth. It's on the dark side of the moon, and they've gotten pictures and proof of the things that have been built up there. Now, whether we put it up there, Russians put it up there, I don't know, or whether aliens put it up there. But the pictures are actually, you can look at the photographs, and I'm like, wow, I see the bridge, I see this, I see that. So there's stuff up there for sure.
I had to look it up since you mentioned it. It was an F-18 that he chased
F-18.
after him.
Okay, so got a
Sorry.
little wrong on that for a moment. But anyway, as you're talking about the moon, the reason why we only see one side is because it's what's called tidal lock. It always stays
Yeah.
like that with us.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the moon, they say, you know, that it really don't make sense because the moon, say, it don't go around the sun like we do.
Mm-mm.
It rotates around the earth. And there's theories out there now that some say that the moon is a superstructure, and it's
Huh.
and
Like
that there
hollow?
are
It is the
bases.
hollow moon.
Yeah,
Hollow
it's a
moon.
hollow moon, and that there's a big base inside of it.
It's like the Death Star.
Now, I don't
Yeah,
know.
in a way, yeah.
I don't know if I'd believe all that, but
Yeah.
That that I heard it somewhere where they like that an asteroid or something hit the moon, and somehow they got it recorded to where they heard like it was like a bell, like it had that.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it rang like
thing.
hit metal.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't remember where I heard that at.
But
Talking
anyway,
about moons, like Saturn's my favorite planet, so Titan, I'm fascinated, beyond fascinated with Titan. I've like looked up just about every scientific thing I can find about Titan.
well, Saturn has a ton of moons anyway, so does
It's
Jupiter.
more Earth-like, they say. You know,
Other
Jupiter's
than the
it's
silver
methane
moon, but
ocean.
yeah,
yeah. So anyway,
interesting though. I
anyway,
wish they'd eventually get better pictures. They're trying to better probes, better stuff.
it'll happen eventually, especially with I think SpaceX and all that. Everything's getting better all the time. I mean, we can
I
build a
Yeah,
don't
rocket
know if
now.
we'll be able to ever do what the UFOs do or not. I don't know if we'll ever have that kind of technology.
like Star Trek, that'd be cool.
I think we will. You've got to understand, if you look at it on the grand scale, we think we're so primitive in a lot of ways. I seen a graph of a scale of civilization once. We're not technically even a tier one, I believe, yet. We're getting there. I think it was like the next 100 to 1,000 years will be what's called tier one. And it
So
goes,
not in our lifetime.
our kids, our
Grandkids.
grandkids,
Yeah.
yeah. This civilization tier goes all the way up to 5, and
Yeah.
5 is frightening.
Ugh.
I don't know. I mean, you really think this world is going to last that long?
I
Yeah,
do, I really do, but there's going to have to be some stuff that's going to have to change. Like everyone talks about the green energy. Yes, that's going to have to come forward. Yes, but we're not the like. God, this is going to be controversial as hell. We're not the biggest polluters in the world here in the United States. That's overseas.
that's China.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's going to have to be some stuff that's going to change. Our green energy is not there yet. It's coming. It's just not there yet.
Uh, but if you think about it, the first flight, man off the ground,
The Wright brothers.
1903. You know what happened 63 years later?
World
We
War
were on
One.
the moon.
Yeah.
That's not too long of a time
I
span.
mean, that's a big leap from
Yeah,
not being able to fly to being on the moon.
Look at where we were 200 years before we flew.
that's
It,
true.
in the last 60 years, thank you, Cat. You're about knocked over like a
Well,
UFO.
I'll say this: we made a big jump. When it hit the early 1900s, and we went from Wild West days, and then all of a sudden it was steam engines and all that real quick.
Automobiles. Yeah.
Yeah, Craig, you got to look at it this way. What you see on the civilian market now, the military
I
is
think crap.
always, yeah, the military is always 10 to 25 years ahead of what we got. So we got some pretty cool stuff in our markets now, right?
Oh, I'm sure we got a lot of stuff we don't know about.
Some of those, like the F-22 I mentioned earlier, that thing can pull some maneuvers. Like you're like that's if you'd seen that in the '60s, you'd be like that's a spaceship.
But
Quack, quack, quack.
look at what I know how horrible the Nazis were, but look at all the stuff that Nazi Germany was trying. Like they were trying UFO technology,
Yeah,
and
World War II.
Well, Hitler was into that stuff. He was always into the old artifacts and into this new technology type stuff. I mean, they was one of the first that come out with them daggum tanks.
No, that was the British
Wow.
actually.
Oh, was that the British?
The ironic thing, here's you some military history. We're way off topic though.
yeah, we've gone a
Me
long
and
way.
him do that a lot, though.
This is why we started this podcast so we can get into discussions like this.
Yeah, well, the first tanks were made by the British, and they called them tanks to disguise the fact of what they were. So if the Germans intercepted any radio transcripts, they're seeing like, oh, what's this? Tanks. Oh, must be water tanks. That's the whole reason we got tanks now. They thought they were water tanks, and the name just stuck.
Wow.
UFOs to tanks.
Yeah, I'm serious though. If you look at, I was talking about the F-15 earlier, which is still considered one of the best fighter jets in the world. It has a real-world combat record of 104 to nothing. It's never been shot down, right? The F-22 has shot it down in mock combat, of course, 41 to 1. Think about that.
Yeah.
And the F-22 is about to go back out of service. They're putting up a new fighter.
Wow.
Wow.
So we're getting there as a civilization, and I think as we progress, things like the Greys and the Tall Whites, stories like Betty and Barney Hill, they'll become a lot more clearer as we progress as a civilization.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion.
I've heard, that our government's been getting information from the aliens way back. I mean, like on technologies and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised anyway.
Well, they say that one of our presidents, I'm wanting to say it was back when Eisenhower or I think it was Eisenhower. He made a deal. They claim he made a deal with the aliens.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Look
mean,
up the blue, maybe look up the blue treaty and see if that's it.
I may be wrong. I may be wrong.
And it's also,
I think you're right. And I was just having Sean maybe look it up to see if it was that blue treaty thing or something kind of like that.
My understanding about it was that it was when the nuclear bomb come about, and the aliens didn't want no part of that, and they didn't want it to destroy the Earth, and that's when the treaty was made.
And then they were allowed to abduct so many people, as far as I could understand from watching that.
Yeah,
and the government wouldn't say anything, and they would keep it under wraps.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy there. What a hell of a trade.
You were talking about Eisenhower, and it's another one of them that I kind of like. He supposedly met with a alien whose name was Valiant Thor.
I was just going to mention Valiant Thor.
Yeah. And that was back in '57. So Valiant Thor was who he taught. Supposedly, was it from an
ambassador from Venus?
Yeah, he's supposed to. He said that he was from what the Bible called the morning star, or the morning and evening star, which would be Venus.
Wow.
That's really
So,
strange.
Yeah,
Which would
that's something I
completely,
didn't even know.
which that would completely, if that really came out to be true, that would completely change scientific what we think of as Venus being.
Oh,
So
it,
would that mean that it's hollow too, and maybe they live underground, or
that's a
something
good
like that?
question. That's a really good question.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was like wondering. I'm always curious like that. I've always been so open-minded about all that stuff, and I just like ask questions all the time. I'll be Googling stuff, and
Well, that's the thing about it. There's so many theories out there, and so many people believe this, so many people believe that. It's hard to wrap your head around it. You know what I mean?
uh,
It's a rabbit hole.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically what we've done is gone down a rabbit hole.
Multiple
I
times.
think we went down several tonight.
Yeah, and
I
this
think
is
this has been so much fun, though. I've really enjoyed sitting with you guys tonight. I'm glad I could do it tonight.
Well, we was glad to have you.
yes, ma'am. We got like 4 minutes left if you want to start
Yeah.
heading us out, Sean.
So one thing I mentioned on our last or on Krystal and I's last uh, episode, what I kind of want to start doing at the end of our episodes is plugging stuff, like uh, with mine and Krystal uh, podcast that we do, which is Paranormal Adventures. Then our Facebook page, which it'll basically, but I guess it'll basically cover both that
Both.
episode and these, which is Paranormal Adventures with Sean and Krystal. The questions, comments, hate mail, whatever you want to throw out there, is Paranormal Adventures 2 at gmail.com. So that
Can they reach y'all at any other pages for the roundtable?
You can send me an email if it doesn't get buried in my email at rmantis87@gmail.com. We also got our group, the Arky Squatchers, on Facebook. You can send a request to join, and we'll get you in. So, other than that, yeah, that's about it. Of course, our YouTube channel, which is the Supernatural Roundtable, Adventures presents the Supernatural Roundtable. Got a YouTube channel, so yeah.
of course, you can listen to us on Podbean, Spotify, and iHeartRadio right now. There's a way we can get it up on other platforms, but we'll have to look into that.
Yeah, I listened to y'all's last episode. It was really good. So
But,
We tried.
there's a lot about Bigfoot
We're
I
a work
didn't
in
know.
progress.
Especially that caveman there, yeah.
but yeah. And I think Craig and I have an adventure coming up this coming weekend. We'll have to get back with everybody on that too. So
Okay.
Yeah, we're definitely going to a Bigfoot area, so.
All right, sounds good. I guess we got it.
We'll see y'all later.
All right,
See you
guys.
later. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the unknown. This has been the Supernatural Roundtable, where mysteries are explored and the truth is always up for debate. Until next time, keep your mind open and your lights on.